Hello, everyone, and welcome to another movie review. I am happy that you can join me today. I have to start this movie review by looking back, which makes sense given the subject of the film. In September, I wrote and filmed a post about Tyler Perry and the current state of Black Hollywood. If you haven't watched it, I highly recommend that you do. It's right here on YouTube at Nightglow Entertainment. I mentioned in that post that because Tyler Perry has his own studio, a lot of resources available to him, and he has popularity that other black creatives do not have, he is qualified to make 688. I also mentioned that this will be Tyler Perry's third film this year, which is an amazing accomplishment. And I go into details why that by itself is an incredible accomplishment in the Black Hollywood Post. However, given the scores I gave Mea Culpa and Divorce in the Black, I was expecting to watch an okay movie because Tyler Perry makes okay movies. And even after watching the first 20 minutes of this film, I am thinking, okay, I'm going to give this film 3 stars. But before I explain, let's start from the top. 688 is a historical drama written and directed by Tyler Perry. It stars Kerry Washington. It premiered on Netflix yesterday, December 20th, and the running time is a little over 2 hours. It tells the story of the 688 Postal Directory Battalion, an all-black, all-female battalion that served in World War II. And it was the only all-black, all-female battalion that was assigned overseas during the war. This is a World War II story that almost no one talks about, and therefore no one knows about. So how the movie starts is a young black woman named Lena Derricott, played by Ebony Obsidian, is falling in love with Abram David, played by Greg Sulkin, who is not only white, he's Jewish. So I am thinking to myself, nope, I am not buying it. This movie takes place during the 40s. FDR is president. Jim Crow is still the law. And interracial marriage is illegal. So I don't believe Lena and Abram's budding romance. So he goes off to war and he dies in combat. His father mails Lena a letter letting her know that he died, and Lena decides to sign up for the army. So it is here that you realize Tyler Perry uses Lena as a way for the audience to learn about the battalion and the world they are in. Lena is the movie's protagonist, and this was a smart move by Tyler Perry. So when Lena goes through boot camp, military training, we meet her commanding officer, Charity Adams, played by Kerry Washington. In the meantime, Eleanor Roosevelt finds out that soldiers and their families are not getting their mail. And as a result, morale among the soldiers is at an all-time low. The solution is to send the 688 Battalion to Scotland, where there is a group of airplane bunkers holding a backlog of 17 million letters and packages. And the place is infested with rats. And Adams gets her order from General Holt that the backlog needs to be processed by her battalion of 855 women within a matter of 6 months, which sounds impossible. So the movie ends with actual footage of real veterans who served in the 688 during the war. That led me to going online and doing a little digging. Come to find out, the most powerful moments in the film were all true. Lena is an actual person. The love between her and Abram was true. There is a scene where a few soldiers were driving a truck transporting mail and it was bombed. That is true. The soldiers driving the truck did not get a proper funeral. Their bodies were never flown back to the States. Therefore, they were buried in Scotland, and the only people who showed up for the funeral were soldiers of the 688. Now, one white soldier came to the funeral, which is disturbing because prior to the 688 getting to Europe, the mail was just sitting there. but getting the mail was important to them. So as a civilian, it doesn't make sense to me. So the film created questions I had about the military. Is the mail important? Is it not important? I don't know. There is also a scene where General Holt visits the 6888 for inspection, and Major Adams explains to him how the operation works and how they're able to process all of that mail. The general doesn't approve of how she runs her battalion, so he told her, look, FDR is dead. Therefore, this so called experiment where black soldiers are given opportunities is now part of the past, and he wants to replace Adams with a white commanding officer. Her reply was, over my dead body. That part of the story is also true. It really happened. Whoa! So by the time the movie was over, I realized that I was wrong to jump to conclusions. Because the real stories are so incredible, Perry doesn't need to fictionalize most of the story. All he has to do is tell what happened. So I can't believe I am saying this, but I am going to give this film 4 out of 5 stars. This is Tyler Perry's magnum opus. This movie is an example of streamlined storytelling. The story is presented in a focused and concise manner. There is a clear beginning, middle, and end. There are no unnecessary scenes or shots, and there are strong character arcs when it comes to Lena, Major Adams, and many of the supporting characters. Not only did Perry did a good job directing and writing the script, but it was also well shot and well edited. I don't know if he has worked with the DP and the editor before making this movie, but in my opinion, he needs to keep that DP and the editor because the direction, the script, the cinematography, the editing, the acting all came together. They all worked together to create a film that far exceeded my expectations. I am now wondering if Tyler Perry is going to go back to making mediocre movies, or is this a sign that he is becoming better at his craft? I am really surprised as to how good this movie is. And I am hoping that with Perry's name on the film, this story will get the attention it finally deserves. I have read stories about black male soldiers in World Wars I and II and the amount of racism that they were subjected to. I watched a documentary called Erased. I gotta bring that up. That came out on Disney Plus around the same time The Acolyte premiered on Disney Plus. I decided to watch Erased instead of The Acolyte. That series was narrated by Idris Elba. If you haven't watched it, please look for it. I did a review on Erased. You can look for that as well. It's right here on YouTube on the Nightglow Entertainment channel. And what makes me sad is The Acolyte got attention from the public, and based on what I heard, that series was a terrible one and probably the worst in the Star Wars franchise. This is what I mean with Tyler Perry. He has the fame, he has the attention to put a spotlight on stories that are literally ignored, then forgotten by historians. This movie clearly shows what happens when you are a black female soldier. This unit and Major Adams are dealing with a high level of racism and sexism on top of the blatant disrespect. So I really appreciated the story being told in a bluntly honest way. There is no romanticizing in this movie. It is not over sentimental. It's not overly emotional because Major Adams is the kind of person that is able to move on quickly. So she doesn't feel sorry for herself. And also, Tyler Perry doesn't hover on a scene for very long. So he keeps the story moving at a nice pace. So between her character and Tyler Perry's moving the story along, um, without without hovering around, without dragging on certain scenes, it just works. And so there's not much time to get upset to the point where you're crying buckets of tears. Which leads to another thing I never thought I would say. This is the first Tyler Perry movie that is Oscar worthy. Kerry Washington deserves a nomination for playing Major Adams. Her performance is pitch perfect. There is also a song written by Diane Warren, the famous songwriter who's been nominated numerous times for Best Song. This time she wrote a song called The Journey that is performed by Her, or Her. Her is a songwriter herself, so I was surprised to see Diane Warren's name in the closing credits. I thought the song was written by her, but no, it's written by Diane Warren, and you know I think that eventually in the future, at some point we're going to see Diane Warren win an Oscar, and also at some point, I think I think Her already won an Oscar for a song. I'm not sure. I would have to double check that. But if I am wrong, in the future, Her might just win a song, might just win Best Song Oscar one of these days. So yeah, like these are two both talented songwriters in the business right now, and I'm a fan of both of them. But those are the only two nominations that I can think of for this movie. But this movie is definitely Oscar worthy. One of my favorite films of the year, and I am just truly surprised and blown away. So, that is all for today, my friends. I will see you next time with another movie review. Until then, take care and have fun at home streaming.